Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode with me, Derek, aka Sal, the Omega Enthusiast. I have accumulated over a dozen square and rectangular vintage Omega watches from the 1930s and 1940s. A few pieces are still strapless, so I am still waiting for a batch of new watch strap to arrive to install them onto these few pieces. Therefore, I will break this video into a series of episodes, and you guys can use them for future reference. Finding any information on these watches is challenging, so if you appreciate what I do, kindly smash on that thumbs up like button and consider subscribing. On top of that, I am still trying to figure out a few pieces reference numbers. As you can see, many of these 1940s and earlier vintage Omega watches come with a case serial number instead of the actual model reference number. Watches from this era are small but look really classy on the wrist. Fine examples are difficult to find as most vintage dress watches are not moisture resistant. That said, I'll be selling some beautiful handmade leather strap for vintage watches in the near future. I'll make a video on these new straps so you guys can take a look. So stay tuned for that episode. The next thing I wanted to point out is the majority of these square and rectangular models carry manual wind caliber T17 or 20F movement. So even though these movements have gone through so much in the last 80 to 90 plus years, a good service can still get them to run pretty accurately. So if you're lucky, expect one to run within 5 to 10 seconds off per day. But for a watch of this age, timekeeping within 30 seconds per day is acceptable. Because the movement caliper is hidden under the balance wheel for the two movement, just remember that a T17 will come with this metal cover, whereas 20F does not require one. I will present 5 pieces for each episode, so basically 5 references. Keep in mind that each reference exists with a few different dial design, hand types, and dial tones. In some cases, you will find that a particular dial variation will appear in many of the references. Thank you to all of my patrons for financially supporting this channel every month from as low as $1.50 on Patreon. The accumulated funds allow me to order some extract from the Omega archive to discover some of these unknown references. With my continuous work uploading content for this channel, I know it has helped many watch enthusiasts today and even more in the future. I know that because I received many thank you emails from you guys for my work. The first piece for this video is under reference CK964, first created in 1933 and lasted until around 1937. This model is called the Daedalus. There are 2 versions of this watch, and this is the larger of the 2, measuring 22.4 millimeters across, excluding the crown, by 40 millimeters from lug to lug. Anytime you see a rectangular vintage watch having 40 millimeters in length, it's considered a prominent example. The thickness of the case measures 8.3 millimeters thick with the current acrylic crystal. The beautiful rectangular facets steel case has wire-type lugs, requiring an open-end 18mm strap to fit. The handmade strap on this watch will be one that you will find on my site soon. Snap open the case back, and inside is a fully serviced Omega caliber 20F manual wind movement with 15 jewels. Typically, when I work on a watch of this age, I will replace the mainspring to give it a new life. And here's a wrist shot of the watch on my 6-inch wrist. The second piece is the smaller version, as I mentioned a moment ago. The data loss comes in two sizes. This model is under Omega reference CK969, created in 1931 and last appeared in a 1937 catalog. The case dimension on this piece measures 22.2 millimeters across, excluding the crown, by 37 millimeters from lug to lug. Since the original flat acrylic crystal was severely scratched, I found a dome acrylic crystal to replace it, making the watch thickness 10 millimeters thick instead of 8.5 millimeters. 3 millimeters shorter than the previous piece, CK969 still carries the same case facet as CK964, and I believe this reference only came in solid steel. You will find that many of these earlier models will come with a wire-type lug case, and for a CK969, the case lug width is 17 millimeters. You will also notice that these earlier references, original crown is not signed. Snap open the case back and inside will carry a 20F caliber manual wind movement with 15 jewels. And here's a wrist shot of the watch. I've spent many hours researching, comparing what I can find online and through old catalogs, figuring out the reference number of each model. Many of these pieces look alike at a glance, but there are more than a few dozen different references. The third piece, this piece right here, dates to 1935 and is under reference CK423. Since I know the movement it carries is a manual wind caliber T17 with 15 jewels, I assume this reference was created in 1934 and most likely lasted until 1936. Caliber T17 is smaller and narrower than 20F, so you can guess which movement it may carry inside the watch by looking at the case. CK423 measures 20.3 millimeters across, excluding the crown, by 37.7 millimeters from lug to lug. With the current dome acrylic crystal, the thickness of this watch is 9.5 millimeters. Sometimes it is the detail on the case that makes it really attractive. I really like the extra chamfer on the edge of this case. The Y-type lug's width is 16 millimeters. Watch number 4 is a popular model under reference CK3516, created in 1934 and lasted until around 1938. I believe Omega produced more of this reference and a few others you will see in future episodes. Even though I really like the dial design in this piece, I prefer the previous one's case. The case dimension on this piece is 19.8 millimeters across, excluding the crown, by 36.5 millimeters from lug to lug. The case thickness, including the current acrylic dome crystal, is 9.5 millimeters. The Y-type lug's width is also 16 millimeters on this piece. After watching this video, let me know in the comment below which of the following 5 pieces is your favorite. And do you already own a rectangular piece from the 1930s? Snap open the case back on this piece, and inside is an Omega caliber T17 manual wind movement. In case you wonder what these hands on the watch are called, they are called the Empire State hand. This last piece for this video is a rare reference under CK3595. Its square dial makes it appear much smaller than the previous 4 pieces, measuring 20.2 millimeters across, excluding the crown, by 36 millimeters from lug to lug. The case thickness is 8.6 mm, including the current acrylic crystal. It was created around 1936 and last appeared in a 1939 catalog. I am told that this reference only exists with a black dial. Finding a strap for this watch is a bit of a challenge since the lug width is 15 mm, which is an odd size. Even though a leather strap suits this watch better, a metal bracelet will make them appear more prominent on the wrist. Snap open the case back, and inside is an Omega T17 manual wind caliber. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, make sure to smash that thumbs up button below, and I look forward to creating part 2 of this series soon. There are so many more pieces to show, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. Creating one of these videos takes up a lot of my time, but it is well worth it. But most importantly, thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to seeing you in the following video.